Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring SLA Industries 2nd edition, the core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this splatterpunk noir sci-fi game, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to continue with threat analysis, covering the Shi'An Cult and Darknight. The Shi'an are the largest and most powerful religious cult on Mort. They originate from White Earth and the vast expanse of conflict space beyond. Over the years, the cult's influence has spread across the SLA-owned world of progress, seducing the downtrodden masses and turning their followers against the company. The cult worships bitterness and his prime ethereals. In return for devotion and service, the cultists can wield dark magic and summon servants and allies directly from the White Earth, challenging SLA in ways previously not thought possible. The Shi'an is like no other threat to SLA Industries, because its power comes from outside the world of progress. It stems from White Earth. It knows all of the company's secrets. For 9 centuries, SLA has charged 2 departments to eliminate uncovered truths. This has been the joint duty of both Cloak Division and Stig Martyr. It has always been Cloak Division's responsibility to eradicate the threat of exposure, and for countless years it has succeeded in that task. Most people living on Mort and in the world of progress have had only a cursory understanding of White Earth. All that has been widely acknowledged is that White Earth is the true enemy of SLA, and something horrendous exists on that world that can challenge Mr. Slayer. The true problem stems not from the denizens which are pulled onto Mort from White Earth, but the civilians based on Mort itself. Without their worship and decisive action, such creatures cannot reach the world of progress. SLA Industries has let its populace down, and so many have turned their devotion to bitterness and White Earth. As a result, most downtown inhabitants not aligned to the cult are utterly terrified of the Shi'An cult. The strange visitors from White Earth frighten on a deeper level than Carrion and Manchins because they are otherworldly. The malefactors govern the cult, and the prime ethereals govern them. Each malefactor has one of the prime ethereals as their patron, and as such gain special gifts and boons befitting the nature of that specific ethereal. They must, however, deliver on certain promises made once they are appointed as malefactors. Unlike many other cults throughout the history of SLA, the Shi'an does not offer material wealth or necessarily public recognition. Almost all are drawn by the promise of spiritual power. There is no con or fakery. All the magic and wonderment, however hideous it may be, is on display for all to see. But once you make your blood oath, you are in for life. Even if that is just a few more weeks, you cannot escape the cult. The Shi'An cult on Mort is led by the chosen malefactors, of course, taking their directions from White Earth. Below them are the acolytes and the neophytes who still retain their humanity, with the drones at the bottom, doing the menial tasks and moving blood around in the form of their bodies. It is very rare that an operative squad will come into contact with a malefactor, a good thing considering their power more than matches that of a necantropy. So included here are all the details concerning drones, neophytes, acolytes, different animals and summoned beasts, atrocities, hominids, hollow ascetics, all the information concerning ethereal magic, blood magic, because ethereal magic has to do with conjurers, calling forth things from the ethereal into existence, into the material plane, and blood magic, as the name suggests, is always tied and evoked by the shedding and sacrifice of blood. This can result in very powerful manifestations, to the point that the Shi'an scrolls, which are blood magic artifacts, were invented in such a way that almost anyone could invoke them. You also have some species-specific abilities. For example, animals and atrocities summoned from White Earth do not interact with the physical elements of the world of progress in the same way as other species. All hit points that animals or atrocities would lose from damage being inflicted are halved. Then we have information on Darknight, the origin of crime. The first encounter with Darknight is attributed to a Nitro Legion battalion in 123 SD, out on a small insignificant planet called Horatio. The battalion had set down on their way back from the War Worlds for maintenance before a final fallback to Mort. During this stopover, they were set upon by a mass mercenary force, who were well armed and packing weapons technology nearly on par with that of SLA Industries. While the enemy was ruthless, they were no match for the battalion and were quickly dispatched, with 2 prisoners being taken. Lieutenant Court the Kill remarked in his logs that the prisoners were extremely resistant to interrogation, but after eventually cracking, they let free the name Darknight, and implied that death itself would follow them back to Mort. Shortly after the battalions returned, a number of small terrorist attacks occurred in Mort City. Explosions in public spaces, assassinations of low-ranking SLA employees, and a number of black market weapons suddenly became available to the civilian population. Darknight had arrived. Darknight has been the foremost enemy of the SLA operative for over 750 years, at least in the eyes of the media. While the organization has changed drastically over the centuries, they are at their heart a terrorist organization and crime syndicate dealing in weapons, drugs, and fear-mongering. Darknight have been tagged as a rival company by SLA Industries, partly on account of their manufacturing and sales operations, but also to dumb down the reality that a terrorist organization has such a hold on certain areas of Mort City. When the media era struck in the mid-700s, Darknight were quick to react, moving their brand of terrorism from explosives to broadcast hacking. Initially, they would cut into primetime broadcasts just to disrupt ratings, but eventually violence became their crux. In 878 SD, Channel Resistance, the official pirate channel of Darknight, took to the air with its 6th host, Lisa Foden. Lisa was young, even more charismatic than those that came before her, and she spoke with the kind of intent that forced people to listen, whether they wanted to or not. By 1900 SD, the radical cells had long left downtown and set up in Cannibal Sector 1, where they could practice their extreme radicalism without clashing with those agents who still considered themselves pure Darknight. The impact of Lisa Foden's words during the broadcast couldn't be ignored, so Darknight began a new offensive. They still sold weapons and drugs, and they still blew up entire city blocks, but now they had a new message that they could send to the inhabitants of downtown. SLA can't protect you, but we can. Thousands of civilians heard that call. Eventually, Channel Resistance was taken down. It remained off-air for just over 3 months. Threat analysis theorized that Lisa Foden was in fact a linchpin part of Darknight's chain of command, and the company had just cut the head of the snake. They were wrong. On November 7th, 911 SD, a new broadcast was made, this time with no presenter. Where Lisa Foden once stood was instead the DN logo, in midnight blue and orange, with a disguised voice-over, unrecognizable as male or female. As the logo cut to video footage, Darknight agents could be seen, openly wearing full armor on the streets of downtown, locked in a vicious firefight with SLA operatives. Amidst the blue and orange was one man, partially armored, wearing dark blue military combat trousers and sections of striker vest. As the camera panned in, the figure was introduced as Major Marco, an incredibly strong-looking, well-built man in his 30s, with spiked blonde hair and bulging muscles. His overall appearance was that of an action movie star, something that the cameras would surely love. While Marco proved to be a media hit in the city, his comic book caricature juxtaposed starkly with the man leading Darknight operations in the sectors. Since the Bellwood campaign began, a number of Darknight cells rose to notoriety over the wall, with one standing ahead of the crowd. The Fire were a small cell fronted by Commandant Boss Lischner, known as the Flame. The Fire did not have the extreme political agendas of other cells, and their violence was more extreme than most Shivers had ever witnessed. However, this cell was soon extinguished, and this actually helped fan the ascension of Major Marco further. With the flame extinguished, Major Marco was quickly seen in the sector, and before a month was out, Darknight were back on the offensive there. People were rallying towards Major Marco. This led to the current situation. Darknight's strategy of a faceless organization with a media darling at the fore has never been as successful as it is now. Marco is actually what the people of Mort City want. A Darknight character that the kids want to watch and imitate. Darknight only needs one face, one hero, one media darling, and Marco is it. You have details on the different Darknight agents and their weapons as well. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about the Thresher Consortium and Tech Treks. I like the contrast between the threats, the Shi'An Cult and Darknight. The Shi'An Cult feels quite sorcerous. They are the perfect example of religious indoctrination, like a cult operation completely focused on corroding the civilization that SLA Industries has built for their own purposes, for their own totalitarian means. And when it comes to Darknight, they manipulate the hearts and minds of the people because they are tired of SLA Industries messing with their lives. They take advantage of them, and they are leading them towards their own objectives, purposes, and agendas. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending right through RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.